Ladies and gentlemen, it is not an overstatement to say that everything is at stake. When I say everything is at stake, what I'm referring to, of course, is Bitcoin's 4-year cycle. And it's a justifiable claim because the 4-year cycle has encompassed every single Bitcoin bull market, every single Bitcoin bear market that we have seen since 2012, which is basically Bitcoin's infancy, okay? There wasn't much price action before 2012. It was just this, okay? It's nonsense. It's very low market cap price action, moving at a whim of very small buy orders. All of the mature Bitcoin price action, the mature Bitcoin that we know and we invest in and we trade and we analyze has always existed within the 4-year cycle. And so as we approach the cyclical deadline, which is around October, give or take, it becomes very clear that if the cycle breaks, everything we know about Bitcoin kind of changes, okay? And the cycle very well can break. It doesn't need to hold. What I'm illustrating here is that there are huge stakes at play, right? This is probably one of the biggest moments in the next couple of months I'm referring to that Bitcoin has seen since this time of the last cycle, since the cycle was at risk again in 2021, right? Every single cyclical top and cyclical bottom is extremely important for one reason. The question comes into the forefront of our minds. Will Bitcoin do what it has always done, or will it change the game entirely, and will we be thrown into the dark? It's the big question. And I've reached out to you guys. I've gone to my YouTube community post page. I've said, ask me a question about the market that you would like to see answered in an upcoming video. Got some questions here. I've highlighted 5 of them. Okay, we'll go through them now and then we'll answer them in the video. So number 1, is it true that altcoins peak out about a month after Bitcoin? I think we know the answer there. The answer is yes, but we'll look into it a little bit more in depth. When can we realistically expect an altcoin rally or an altcoin season? Will Ethereum retest its bull market support band in September? Because there is a trend that Bitcoin tends to do so. Why are some crypto analysts not talking about the 4-year cycle, even though it's clearly incredibly relevant and important? And how likely is it that the Fibonacci levels will play into Bitcoin's cycle top? So 5 pretty important questions at a pretty important time. And of course, I'll do more Q&As in the future. I like doing these Q&A videos because it gives me an idea of what you guys are thinking and what you guys want me to talk about. So 5 questions, we'll get into that in this video. Just want to take 30 seconds of your time to show you something that you might find very interesting before we do so. A lot of people ask me what exchange I use as a trader. I use the Bitunix Exchange, and I don't have a contract with them. I haven't signed anything with them. I don't work for them. I advertise them on my own accord. With my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount permanently attached to your account, as well as up to 8,000 USDT in rewards just by signing up with my link down below. Why would you sign up? Well, it's global. It's non-KYC. It's never been hacked before. It's got all the functions and pairs that you would expect for a major exchange. For that reason, I use it. And I implore you to consider using it as well. Sign up with my link to help out the channel, help out yourself. Cheers. Question number 1. I understand that Bitcoin tends to peak out about 4 weeks after passing its most recent all-time high, and that altcoins peak out about 4 weeks after that. Does that match what you have seen? So the first part of your question I don't understand, unfortunately. I don't think there is a trend that Bitcoin tends to peak out about 4 weeks after passing its most recent all-time high, because there's just no context provided in that part of the question. But what I do understand is what you said in the second part, which is basically, does Bitcoin lead the top for the altcoin market? In other words, do altcoins continue running after the Bitcoin top? And yes, that is what we've seen. We've discussed this on the YouTube channel many times. And it's quite an interesting topic, quite a controversial topic, because we haven't even seen really altcoins pick up that much yet. But we have seen Ethereum pick up. We have seen Ethereum dramatically start to outperform Bitcoin. And using Ethereum as kind of a replacement for altcoins generally in that question, which is correct to do, seeing as Ethereum is the leader of the altcoin market anyway. What we have seen is Bitcoin topping out, for example, in 2017 in December, and Ethereum continuing to run into January. So it topped out a month later. Not only that, okay, but Bitcoin topped out here in December, while Ethereum was down at $600 US. Ethereum then ran to 1,400. It doubled, it 2x'd in the time that Bitcoin had already topped out and was actively dropping, okay? Very important to note. Going through to 2021, I'm going to make a unique conclusion here that you probably haven't heard before, so stick with me here. In 2021, the same thing kind of happened, okay? We saw Bitcoin, we had 2 kind of runs in 2021. We had the first run and the second run. And during the first run, I would say that was actually the predominantly important part of the bull market, because that's when Bitcoin dominance really dropped. If we look at Bitcoin dominance going back into 2021, we see the biggest drop in Bitcoin dominance, which basically means the biggest altcoin season we saw, or period of altcoin season we saw in 2021, occurred in the first part of the year, not in the second. In fact, Bitcoin dominance just went sideways pretty much in the second part of the year. So altcoin season in 2021 mostly, not always, not 100%, but it was mostly isolated to the first part of the year. And hence, when we look at altcoins in 2021, we need to understand that the best extraction of data we can take is from the first part of the year. What we see, just like in 2017, is Bitcoin topping out in April and Ethereum and altcoins topping out in May, a month later, just like in 2017. And again, we see Bitcoin topping out while Ethereum was at around 2,100, and Ethereum, again, 2xing after Bitcoin had topped out, right? Very important. We didn't see that replicated quite the same in 2021 here in the second part of the cycle, but the fact is both regular kind of cycles that we've seen, both parts of the regular cycles we've seen, so first half 2021, also 2017, we have seen Ethereum and altcoins continue to run about a month later than Bitcoin, and not only continue to run, but see probably the bulk of their run during that period of time. Now, importantly, this is where a lot of people end the analysis, but going a bit further than this, we don't just see Ethereum and altcoins, break down a month later. We see Ethereum and altcoins break down when Bitcoin sees its macro breakdown. So Bitcoin, although it has topped out a month earlier than Ethereum and altcoins in these cycles here about a month before, it's not actively in a bear market yet. The actual macro level has not quite broken. When that macro levels breaks, that's when Ethereum and altcoins break. So in a way, even though Ethereum and altcoins are continuing upwards without Bitcoin, they're still relying on Bitcoin for security. And when Bitcoin loses that place of security and actually breaks down properly, that's when Ethereum and altcoins break down. So even though Ethereum and altcoins are running without Bitcoin, they still rely on security provided from Bitcoin. Same thing in 2021. Bitcoin had stopped running, but it was still on a macro support zone. When it lost that macro support zone, that's when Ethereum and altcoins broke down. And in the second part of 2021, we can actually justify what happened here by following that kind of example. Bitcoin, unfortunately, lost its macro support very, very quickly, which didn't give Ethereum much time to continue running. And hence Ethereum and altcoins broke down. That's a justification we can put together there. So in reference to your question, to answer it precisely, and to not just refer to, oh yes, altcoins run a month longer than Bitcoin. The actual truth of the matter is altcoins tend to run until Bitcoin sees a macro breakdown, and in the past that has just happened to take a month. So it's not necessarily that we need to run on altcoins further than Bitcoin, and it has to be a month long. It just seems to be the case that altcoins run until Bitcoin breaks down, and that could be whatever period of time. Now, leading on from this question, when can we expect an altcoin season? When can we expect an actual altcoin rally? And the second part of the question here, a bit of a minor part, which is, will dominance retrace to 62 to 64 first? As for that Bitcoin dominance question, just answering it quickly, it looks like we do have some sort of uptrend here on Bitcoin dominance, which hasn't clearly been broken down yet. So we're not in the clear for a breakdown on Bitcoin dominance yet. I think us being in the clear for a breakdown of Bitcoin dominance, and hence us starting an altcoin season, will only occur once Bitcoin thoroughly clears its $118,000 resistance level. I've discussed that many times on prior YouTube videos. Just to quickly brush over it, I believe that $118,000 is the level Bitcoin needs to get back above to get back into a secure position. It is the POC on the volume profile. It is the yellow line resistance, which goes right back from 2017's all-time high. Look at the chart here. That yellow line goes back from 2017. That's what we rejected from most recently. It started this correction. It took us down to our support zone at 107. And I believe Bitcoin needs to get back above 118 in order for altcoins and Ethereum to have a chance of running. Now, if Bitcoin does get back above 118, we have some very interesting prospects for the altcoin market. One of them is we will probably be breaking above our 2021 all-time high, which will be a major trigger point for altcoins. And the same thing will happen on Ethereum. Again, probably breaking above our 2021 all-time high. These catalysts only exist on Ethereum and the altcoin market. They don't exist on Bitcoin. There isn't a big breakout point that people are watching on Bitcoin right now, which means that altcoins and Ethereum will likely draw attention, more attention than previously drawn. And we'll probably see altcoins and Ethereum start to run heavily. And all of that will start, in my view, at a 118K breakout, which will probably line up with breakouts of these all-time highs on Bitcoin, on Ethereum and the altcoin market, I mean. So when can we expect a sustainable altcoin rally? Well, the answer is probably when Bitcoin gets above 118,000 confidently, more precisely when Ethereum and the altcoin market break their all-time highs. And if I had to put that into a date, I would say that in the bull case, right, provided we don't just crash down and break 107,000, that's probably going to be happening this month, right? Because we are very low on time here on Bitcoin, and it looks like we're making a move here as we speak, potentially within a week, but we shall see. You know, there could be there could be unexpected roadblocks. There's various things that can happen, and that's why I kind of referred to prices in answering the question when rather than dates. Dates are always relatively unpredictable, especially in this cycle, when things that have usually taken, a month have taken 6, 7, 8 months. We've seen these long drawn out corrections, which has been uncharacteristic of Bitcoin before 2022. So this cycle has kind of proven to us that dates are really up for interpretation. Will Ethereum retest its bull market support band in September or not? And Ethereum price target range. As for the price target range, I'm just going to answer this off the rip. I have said in previous videos that it's very, very difficult to predict Ethereum price targets. It's even difficult to predict Bitcoin price targets for bull markets, but especially Ethereum because we have one whole less cycle of data and way, way less predictive trends on Ethereum, unfortunately. But I have said that it looks like something like 7,000 to 9,000 is pretty realistic, provided we see a continuation of the Ethereum season, start of the altcoin season. Rough guideline, not exactly a prediction, more of an observation of what we've seen historically, percentages we've seen historically. Again, trends like Ethereum tending to double in price after the Bitcoin top. Not really concrete trends at all, very speculative trends, not something we can really bet the house on, but something we can extrapolate from and get a vague idea of where Ethereum could go. I would expect it to be under 10,000, very confidently under 10,000. 7 to 9,000 is something I've stumbled upon in prior videos. Again, not really too confident in any single price target for Ethereum, unfortunately. I just don't think we have the data for it. Moving into a question that I can be more confident on, will Ethereum retest the bull market support band in September or not? Now, some people might have no idea what this question even comes from. First of all, the bull market support band is an important indicator on the Bitcoin chart, which has been pretty important in distinguishing between bullish ranges and bearish ranges, historically speaking. It's a level we retested right here in September. And importantly, pay attention to what I say here. Importantly, we retested the bull market support band on top of a neckline of support, okay, in September. That is a trend. That has happened in 2021. Bull market support band retest in September on top of a neckline of support, leading to all-time highs soon after. It also happened here in 2017, okay? Bull market support band retest in September. Where is it? Back here. In September, on top of a neckline of established support horizontally, leading to all-time highs. So there is a trend here in regards to bull market support band retest in September, leading to all-time highs. It's what we have seen. It's why I'm so adamant that $107,000 needs to be held, because if we lose 107, we lose the bull market support band, and we lose that trend. And that's a very strong trend at this point in the cycle. Now, as to your question, will Ethereum do the same thing? No, there is no such trend on Ethereum. There's no need for Ethereum in a trend-based perspective to retest its bull market support band. In fact, the bull market support band is not even really that important, it looks like, observationally, on the Ethereum chart in comparison to Bitcoin. So there's no trend like that on Ethereum. Ethereum does not need to go down anymore, really. Why are otherwise smart people like Tom Lee not talking about the 4-year cycle? He has wild price targets for the end of the year. I'm going to be real. I don't know who Tom Lee is. I don't watch his content. I don't watch many crypto YouTubers, to be quite honest with you. What I can say is it's very clear to me, as someone who's talked about the 4-year cycle since the very first video I did on this YouTube channel, I believe, so in 2021, and before that in 2020 on crypto Twitter when I used to use Twitter, that people love to ignore the 4-year cycle. And there's probably so many reasons behind this, psychological reasons, even very, famous people in the space, people who are very respected in the space, like Benjamin Cohen, one of the most popular crypto YouTubers there is. In 2021, the whole cycle, he was going on about how we were going to see a lengthening cycle take place, how Bitcoin was going to run into 2022, and there was just simply no mathematical trend supporting that. It was completely speculative, based on 2 data points. One of the data points being very weak. I called him out on this publicly on this YouTube channel many times. I called him out on Twitter. This was a person who, presents himself as someone who's very much into mathematics, who was ignoring one of the most obvious 101 facts about mathematics, which is you need 3 data points to make a trend. And it seemed like he was just completely ignoring that. I don't know why people seem to do this. I don't know why people seem to ignore the 4-year cycle so much. It's one thing to say that the 4-year cycle can break, because it will break eventually. I believe that. But the fact is, it hasn't broken yet. The fact is, it's based on dates. And until it's broken on a date range perspective, any speculation you have about it might, any speculation you have that it might break is kind of irrelevant. It doesn't really mean anything, right? It's just speculation, baseless speculation, by the way, because all trends you could point to that would lead to the 4-year cycle breaking have happened within the 4-year cycle, which has existed since 2012. So even the trends that are allegedly estimated at a 4-year cycle break are actually part of the 4-year cycle themselves. So it's quite silly to me that people fall for this mindset that, the 4-year cycle is going to break. And every time so far, they've been wrong. Again, I believe the 4-year cycle certainly can break. I believe there is a non-zero chance that it will break this cycle. But the trend is your friend until it ends. And the trend has not ended yet. If it does end, we can adjust. That's how you should react to trends. That's the only way you should react to trends based on mathematics. Of course, it's obviously true. So I don't necessarily know why people are so reluctant to accept 4-year cycle. I think people in cryptocurrency tend to be contrarian to begin with. So they like to think that grand narratives in general are all false and conspiracy. And the 4-year cycle might fall into that line of thinking. But yeah, it is quite hilarious to me, really. Basic mathematical principles should not be ignored. The 4-year cycle can and will break. But if you say every single cycle that it's going to break this cycle, that doesn't make you a good analyst, and you will be correct eventually, but it means you were wrong every other time before that. And the final question, how likely is it that Bitcoin tops out within a common Fibonacci level? I don't use Fibonacci too much. The only way that I find Fibonacci to be useful in general in Bitcoin analysis, in my view, is on a macro scale. So I suppose it is relevant in regards to where tops could be. I don't use it really for local moves or medium-term moves. I just think there's better things you can use. I don't necessarily think it's incorrect. It's not incorrect. Unlike Elliott Wave, I believe it does have a utility. I personally just don't use it often. But on a macro scale, it clearly has been of utility. I accidentally clicked that, sorry. Clearly has been of utility, right? We just draw out where these levels have been historically from cyclical tops to cyclical bottoms, do some Fib retracements. And we can see, again, clear interactions with these Fibonacci levels as support and resistance time and time again. And the Fibonacci level sitting at 150,000 does seem to be like it could be an upside target, considering it was one in 2017. But in my view, there's just no evidence, really. No evidence at all that Bitcoin has to top out at a Fibonacci level. We didn't top out at a Fibonacci level in any of the prior cycles. We may have found them as resistance and support, but it didn't lead to a cyclical top. In fact, there does seem to be a trend developing that we seem to be progressively undershooting time and time again due to diminishing returns. So we much exceeded the top of Fibonacci retracement in that cycle. We barely exceeded in 2021. In this cycle, it would make sense to not even touch it or maybe get close to it. So I don't think it's going to be especially useful for predicting a Bitcoin top, but I could be wrong and we can react to it if that does occur. 150,000 doesn't seem outside of the realm of possibility. I think, honestly, if we're going to be seeing a regular 4-year cycle, it might even begin to be seeming a little bit high. We have to remember, guys, Bitcoin only has maybe a month, maybe 2 months left in a regular 4-year cycle. It's not a lot of time to move up $35,000, especially considering, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends how you look at it, especially considering the market is more focused on Ethereum and the total and altcoins right now. Ethereum's been outperforming Bitcoin by 3x for months. Okay, so it's not like there's this hidden massive Bitcoin season on the doorstep of the regular 4-year cycle. That's not really what's occurring here. What's occurring is we're seeing the last fumes of Bitcoin's runs, and we're seeing potential for the Ethereum and altcoin markets to run heavily. So I'm not relying massively on Fibonacci in this cycle. I will be looking at it, reacting to it, of course, but it's not like I'm making a prediction that we'll get there. There's just no trend in regards to that. As I've mentioned many times on this YouTube channel, one of the levels I will be looking at very closely for Bitcoin is about 135,000. And that's because of this chart right here. Angles of elevation from cycle to cycle, halving each cycle, clearly pointing to 135,000. The same thing can be said on the power law chart. It's not like I'm predicting we'll top there. It's just something I'm looking at before Fibonacci, because this level is lower than the Fibonacci level of 150. So there's a few things I'm looking at. Fibonacci is one of them, but it's not a main thing, basically. Is a short way of answering your question. So guys, I think that was a pretty productive video. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments. Also join our Telegram group. It's free to join. It's a group chat. It's more useful than YouTube comments these days because YouTube comments just seems to be flooded by bots. Unfortunately, it's hard to control. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. I'll leave you with this. A lot of people ask me what exchange I use as a trader. I use the Bitunix Exchange, and I don't have a contract with them. I haven't signed anything with them. I don't work for them. I advertise them on my own accord. With my referral link down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount permanently attached to your account, as well as up to 8,000 USDT in rewards just by signing up with my link down below. Why would you sign up? Well, it's global, it's non-KYC, it's never been hacked before, it's got all the functions and pairs that you would expect for a major exchange. For that reason, I use it. And I implore you to consider using it as well. Sign up with my link to help out the channel, help out yourself. Cheers.